companies are terrified of making the wrong decision given the rapid pace at which prices are changing for things that they absolutely need to
I
buy.
would agree with that.
Hi, I'm Stefan,
And I'm Matt.
and this
It's
is
Cloud
Cloud
Chat.
Chat. This video series breaks down pressing IT challenges and trends from the perspectives of technology partners and longtime IT customers.
We're going to offer candid insights into the tech world and practical solutions for common problems that other IT customers face.
I'm Stefan Stelter, and I'm a solution engineering manager at NetApp. I've been in the IT space for over 30 years. I've supported partners that deliver solutions to their customers for most of my career.
And my name is Matt Brown. Today I lead a program called NetApp and NetApp. This is where we share IT best practices with our customers and our partners in the field.
All right, let's get into it.
Rock and roll.
So, top of mind these days are supply chain constraints. In particular, flash storage and flash has been a challenge for customers to source, and that has a lot of impacts. And one of the things that I think about are fun forcing functions in this context. And a forcing function is something that helps you achieve an objective that you might not achieve otherwise. It's better than wishful thinking. It's better than just trying harder. It's something that actually just gives you no other options. And I think that's an interesting context in which to think about the flash storage challenge that folks are facing. Makes you think about how do you prioritize things and what is truly important.
When we were talking the other day about this challenge, I'm going to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised to hear that this forcing function is really limiting a lot of people's options and kind of forcing us into a back to the future situation. Where, because of the spare parts, customers are desperate and they forever need storage. IT budgets are limited and their options, therefore, are also limited.
Yes, if we all got into our DeLoreans and we went 88 miles an hour and just drove back a few years, 5 years, 6 years, there would be just such a clear notion that everybody is moving to flash.
What did I tell you?
Yep.
Your laptop doesn't have a hard drive in it anymore. Servers should have SSDs in them.
Yep.
Storage subsystems should have nothing but flash media, NVMe flash media, SSD-based flash media. They should have something that is not spinning. And here we are just a short little while later where how do we store the things that we need to store because we can't get the media to store it on for the same price that we were paying before.
Right. I believe servers should always use network attached storage, but that's just me.
Agreed. That's one of the ways you can help really optimize the way that you're doing things is by
Right.
eliminating stranded storage that could be trapped. I'm sure there's an organization somewhere out there that isn't virtualizing or isn't leveraging shared storage, and boy, is that a miss when you've got stuff trapped inside of servers.
Well, it's interesting too, because let's state the obvious. IT budgets are, never flush with money. We're always struggling. And we are talking about hardware, especially capital assets. We sweat them as long as we can. So cost is an issue. But when we need storage, timing, of course, is an issue. And because of the global supply chain, you stated it perfectly, we're in a weird forcing function. My concern, and I could explore this a little bit with you as a person in management, is that I believe some folks are making short-term decisions and they're going to have long-term ramifications. We have variables out there like AI, and anybody who's trying to do anything at scale, bringing that on-prem, you're already up to power and cooling issues. Spinning disks run hot, they take up a lot of space, they have a higher failure rate. I don't know, man. It seems like it's not an enviable problem to be in. I'd like to get your perspective on what are customer options in this space beyond just spinning disks.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of these forcing functions where you hope maybe this is the opportunity for us to change something process related outside of the IT sphere. But when we get really specific around how do we address the immediate need, given that we can't change processes right now, but what can we do to optimize what's going on in the environment? And that's really the key element. How do we understand best what we have in our infrastructure today.
Probably too. Let's just share what the options are, because I think there's some obvious ones and then there's some not so obvious ones. Because I
Yeah.
personally think that option D is buying spinning disk. I really think that should be the last option people should consider, although I appreciate it. But I think there are other things that folks should consider that map more into their long-term strategy. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think the first couple are.
Yeah. So to me, when I think about strategies long term, how do we leverage the assets that the folks with really deep pockets have? I'm thinking in this context, the cloud. And when you look at
Yep.
where a lot of these flash parts are ending up in data centers that are owned by the hyperscalers or neoclouds. So how can I rent somebody else's computer to do the work that I would be doing on premises? How can I make sure that I can bring my data to those places as efficiently as possible? And that involves having an infrastructure that can support a true hybrid cloud methodology to help get that data into and out of the cloud as pricing dynamics change. This is the ideal time if you've been dragging your heels to really figure that out and start making the classification of your workloads happen. Things that we've been talking about in Cloud Chat for years.
Yep.
Maybe this supply chain is going to be the forcing function that pushes your organization into actually implementing and taking the next level of effort there.
I definitely think it's a step forward. So I completely agree. And I think folks should seriously consider that. I think the close number two then is, are there OPEX options that allow you to expand on prem?
Yes.
I'm thinking of NetApp's Keystone offering. It comes to mind because it's funny when you're looking at the challenge. What's the best solution? Well, I'm going to pay as I go and have somebody else worry about the hardware piece. And I'm just not ready to move offsite yet.
It's a different version of the cloud where you're using an OPEX model on premises rather than using an OPEX model in the cloud. In either case, it's somebody else's depreciation schedule, I suppose. And that's a convenient option for a lot of folks. Make sure you've got a good service level agreement in place and understand what your costs are as your capacity needs increase. Yep. Having an OPEX model is a great approach. Being able to provide a tiering solution where the most critical, highest performance requiring workloads live on flash, and the blocks of those workloads that are infrequently accessed get tiered to something more cost effective like spinning disk. It becomes a really powerful combination.
I completely agree. Well, and if you go through the effort of categorizing and building your architecture to that extent, then allows you then to more strategically upgrade those components when all these supply chain issues resolve themselves. I think there's another solution that I would consider the C solution, those are A and B. How do you do more with what you have, at least for the short term? I know salespeople don't want to hear that, but I think there's a lot of opportunities for partners to really help people be more efficient with the solutions they have and really start to map a long-term strategic architecture that maps with their organization's future. If I look at our own environment, are we operating at complete efficiency? I would say none of us are. So I think there's opportunities to at least allow a longer on-ramp by focusing some effort on current efficiencies.
Yes, and for me, that's option A. I'm like, let's seize the opportunity. Let's take this forcing function and do the things that we don't like to do. Let's clean our rooms, right? And that's
there you go.
Understanding what's happening in the infrastructure today.
Yeah, with a thought that, this is going to be a short-term situation and we have to be thinking long-term. And everybody's affected by this. There's nobody who's unscathed. But it's interesting, when I was talking with you about the spinning disk, which again, I was just shocked that we're back to having those conversations, even the largest customers all have edge cases or all have manufacturing or all have these closets somewhere that need on-prem storage to some extent. Everybody's trying to figure out what is best to do. So the question mark is, I think, back to your original conversation, how do you assess where you are? And what is the best short term that maps to a long term plan?
Yeah, the edge use case is a very interesting one. If it's aging gear in an edge location, you've got a really good chance of being able to continue to leverage spinning media. And I also think that there are some use cases where the capacities lend themselves to using spinning still. And I think the curves are changing very rapidly. The reason flash became so prevalent was because the price with data reduction made flash a really compelling option. It was comparable in some respects to looking at spinning disk. But when you double the price of flash, it is significantly different to try to compare the two.
Flash allowed us to shrink our data centers. I can speak firsthand. Being an IT customer of Flash, we reduced our data center space by almost 80%, while increasing our data footprint by almost 5 times. AI is hungry for power, hungry for cooling, and the last thing you need is spinning disk, eating any of that up to that impedes your business going forward. So it's a very interesting challenge.
I think if folks are faced with a data center reduction strategy, spinning disk might not be that entertaining to them. However, if the power and cooling come from somebody else's budget, and the rack footprint or rack U is just not a big deal because we've been shrinking already. Those organizations might find themselves saying, it's okay with spinning for us. We don't need flash. And when I talk to partners over the past 5 years, there have been conversations where there's not all that much interest in the potential savings from a power perspective and a cooling perspective. It was a hard sell to pay the additional dollars for flash.
Wow.
It's still, there's still that swath of customers. And I think that we're seeing the pricing spread further apart. They used to be converging and now they're diverging. And it's going to make, sadly, spinning attractive for a good swath of customers. But it's good that they have the options. And it's good that if you have a high performance need for AI, you can put the high performance workloads very efficiently on Flash if you have a good platform for it, like NetApp offers.
To your point, it takes time to clean your room. It's easier just to order something. But if you look at that from a more managerial or a more strategic perspective, doing a little bit of housekeeping definitely pays off in the long term. Having a great archive policy and strategy, having strategies around your hot and your cold data, classifying your data, which we're all facing with anyway. All those things are strategically mapped to a sound future. So I think, to your point, back to the forcing function, it's kind of forcing everybody to maybe kind of do a little bit of all these things to really get through this interim supply chain and financial challenge.
Yes, I agree. It's an opportunity that organizations can seize to do some of the less exciting things. You might just be able to solve the problem with some good ingenuity and leveraging the tools that are out there. Your NetApp partner has access to things like data infrastructure insights, which can help you understand your workloads, whether they're on premises or in the cloud, and help you classify them and categorize them. It's like having a consultant, a maid, help you with cleaning your room. You've got somebody to give you data and help you make really smart decisions.
When, by the way, data infrastructure insights doesn't just see ONTAP, it can see any operating system, which to your point really allows that effective, proper review of efficiency in your overall data center. Again, mapping to the future instead of back to the future.
Yeah, it's interesting how these forcing functions have affected different elements of the supply chain. We've talked about it in the storage context. There's certainly a server context where we're hearing customers having some struggle getting servers. Of course, servers in the cloud is a really convenient thing. But there are supply chain challenges and interconnectedness to all of these pieces. I think there's some organizations that would leverage the idea of, I might need to change my hypervisor. How should I do that? If you've been dragging your feet on any of these things, or if you've decided to try to kick the can by adopting or paying a bill and deciding we'll deal with it later, now's a great time to really pick that apart and make some good decisions. It's an opportunity to be seized here.
I think this has been an amazing conversation. Can you kind of summarize what you would recommend to our peers out there facing these challenges? And I would say feel free to prioritize them.
Yeah, for me, take stock of what you have. Understand the environment. Put DII in place, data infrastructure insights. Get with your NetApp partner to get a good assessment of what's going on. And once you've got that understanding, you can make some of those decisions very cleanly and with open eyes. The things that I think organizations have dragged their feet on in assessing which VMs they can keep or not keep, DII can really help you understand that. This is the time to just turn it off and see if anybody notices. There's a lot of legacy debt and legacy applications that are sitting around. DII can help you understand that there's no data changing and it's time to just turn it off. And you might be able to get a server that way, right? You might be able to get enough workloads off of your existing infrastructure that you have now capacity that you didn't know that you have on the compute side. And then also on the storage side, right? You'll be able to find orphaned capacity that's in the environment. So the cheapest server you can buy is one that you already own. The cheapest storage that you can buy is storage you already own. So just be efficient there. So that to me is step one. Once you've classified and really looked at the infrastructure, you have all of the opportunities in the world to seize a cloud approach or to understand what the size and scope of an OPEX approach might be for your organization. So that, to me, those are the steps.
I love it. I love it. And as a person who's been in management for a long time, I highly support that approach. Don't knee-jerk react to costs. Think about that short-term versus long-term solution. Map to your future. Everything that you were saying is a pathway forward instead of a step back.
Yeah, I'm excited that the forcing functions here might really get people to make some of those tough decisions and just have a much cleaner IT room, if you will.
Thanks for watching Cloud Chat.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Feel free to chat with us below in the comments to let us know what other topics you want to cover in the future.
Once again, I'm Stefan.
And I'm Matt.
We'll see you next time on Cloud Chat.